In this video, we're going to look at the structure and function of political parties. What is a political party? Well, a political party is a group of individuals who come together under a common label or banner to contest elections. Their goal ultimately is to win power. They want to win control of the government and implement their ideas or their policy agenda. How do they do it? Well, there's a few functions that political parties perform. They recruit members, so they convince people to join up and come out and support them at election time. They also help nominate the candidates who is going to stand for election, for the legislature, or for a presidency. Political parties help decide who is going to do that. Fundraising is a very big part of the political parties' functions. They need money in order to do those things, to fund elections and to help compete for power. Ultimately, a political party wants to act like a government in waiting. They want to think about the policy ideas that they might implement if they win power, and they need to sell those ideas to voters. So a political party is an entity kind of like a firm that does all of these things. A helpful analogy is to think of a political party like a vehicle. If an individual, a candidate, wants to run for office and they want to do it on their own, they've got to get their own vehicle, they've got to fuel it, they've got to do their own maintenance, and ultimately drive around and try and convince people to join their cause. However, if you're a candidate that wants to run for office, you could join a political party. A political party is sort of like a bus. It is a vehicle that's already full. It's got people on it that will help you, that will help canvass for you, that will help you fundraise. It's got fuel in it. It's got enough resources to fund your election campaign. So political parties can help reduce some of these costs and the administrative burdens of trying to run for office. It is a vehicle to get you where you need to go. Now, there are different types of political parties. Each one might behave in a specific way. For example, programmatic parties. Programmatic parties are organized around an idea or an issue or a policy. Some examples are ideological parties, like the Canadian New Democratic Party. They are a social democratic party that's organized around that ideology. Or you might have a single issue party that's only focused on one specific issue. The Bloc Québécois in Canada is one of those. It's focused on Quebec sovereignty and not much else. It's also possible to have a brokerage party. A good way to think about a brokerage party is an umbrella. These umbrella parties will take anything under it. They just want to win election. They don't really devote themselves to a specific idea or ideology. They will do whatever it takes to cover as many voters as possible, kind of like an umbrella. A great example, classic example of this is the Liberal Party of Canada. They are a classic brokerage party. There's also mass parties. Mass parties tend to come from political movements. And so a movement might ultimately coalesce into a party. Environmental movements and green parties have this relationship. But a good example might be the Labour Party in the United Kingdom that was spawned from the Labour movement more broadly. Cadre parties are an interesting type of party because they form within the legislature. So they might be already elected members that decide to join together and act as their own political party within a party. The Tea Party, or they're now called the Freedom Caucus in the United States, is a good example of that. They were elected as Republican members, yet they decided to sit and organize themselves as a cadre party within the legislature. Last would be a militia party. These are revolutionary parties that are militant and they seek to overthrow a government and take control of the government. Communist parties, such as in the former Soviet Union, the People's Republic of China, are good examples of militia parties. Now, how are parties structured? Despite the different ideological and issue orientations, most political parties do share a common structure. There's a leader at the top. That leader will assume power if the party wins. If it's a parliamentary system, that leader will become the prime minister. If it's a presidential system, that leader would be the president. There's also a legislative wing of the party. These are the party members that are in office. They have one election. They are sitting in parliament or sitting in Congress or the legislature. They are considered the legislative wing or the legislative branch of the party. Members of the party that have been elected and are serving in office. There's also an administrative wing of the party that is outside of the legislature. They are not sitting in parliament, but they are the administrative officials that work year-round. They work between elections to try and make sure the party has enough money and resources to contest elections. Now, within them, they also devolve some power to local or regional organizations. These might be riding associations in a place like Canada or precincts in the United States, and their job is to mobilize locally to help nominate candidates and raise money for elections. Now, ultimately, the local entities want to recruit members because new party members can help volunteer at election time, and they can also donate to the party cause. Voters, of course, are important. Even if they're not party members, voters are necessary because they help ensure legislative success. They help elect members to the parliament or to the legislature in sufficient numbers to try and win control of the government. So most parties do follow a similar structure. There will be a legislative side of it and then an administrative side of it. And the administrative side is the one that works between elections to make sure there are enough resources and members to successfully compete in those elections. So just to recap, political parties are entities that help facilitate electoral cooperation and competition. Think of them as a vehicle. If you want to win an election, it's helpful to join a bus that's already full of people and resources that can help you win and get to your end goal. Different types of political parties organized around a different ethos or philosophy, anything from specific ideologies to just large brokerage parties that will try and appeal to everybody. And then, of course, most parties do follow some kind of defined structure with parliamentary and legislative wings and then administrative ones.